The painstaking process of classroom assessment dictates the deployment of varied assessment tools to obtain a substantial view of the quality of learning in the classroom. Classroom assessment tools are employed to collect information that can further interpret, analyze, and synthesize to facilitate developmental feedback to students during and after their engagement with the instructional process. They provide useful and objective measures of learning outcomes. The assessment information can speak of how well the learners are doing in a class, how effectively the teachers deliver the instruction, and what more can be done to ensure an effective instructional process. The more teachers know about what and how students are learning, the better they can plan to learn. Good day everyone, welcome to the development of tools for classroom-based assessment. In this topic, we are going to talk about identifying the different types of the test, implement the essential steps in the test development process that includes re-examination of the target outcomes, determining the desired competencies to be measured, preparing a table of specification, and construction of valid and appropriate classroom measurement test for measuring learning out. The third objective is to calculate for the validity and reliability of a prepared test. Fourth, identify blunders in the constructed test. And last, illustrate the test development process. As you have noticed that there are a lot of objectives that has been mentioned in this chapter. However, we are going to focus our attention on the topics that has been already added in our midterm examination so that we will be guided on what to learn and study just for the sake of midterm. We will be focusing in the rest of these topics in relation to the end term examination. But this time, we will be focusing topics on what has been added in our exam. Right? So, test development process. The process of test construction for classroom testing applies the same essential steps. The construction of any instrument designed to measure physiological construct. The process of test development involves three types or three key phases and 12 steps as illustrated in the figure below. Test development process includes planning phase, test design and construction phase, reviewing phase. Under the planning phase, we have re-examination, the instructional outcomes, determine the competencies to be measured, decide on the type of assessment to use, and prepare a table of specification. These four process or activities under the planning phase are not already the part of the actual construction of the examination instrument. However, these are very important and essential, especially in the construction of the TUS. We will be discussing TUS later in our discussion. The second phase is the test design and construction phase. This includes construct the draft test items, assemble the test items, write directions, check on the assembled the test items, and of course for the reviewing phase we have check the validity of the test, administer the test to try out group, perform an item analysis, establish the reliability of the test. We are going to start discussing about the planning phase. This is where the learning outcome to be assessed and competencies to be measured are specified based on the target outcomes and competencies. The teacher decides on the type and method of assessment to be used or how to test. The table of specification is prepared to guide the item construction phase. The important step in planning for a test are re-examine the instructional outcomes. Review the set of instructional outcomes. Ask a question like, do they cover the various levels of learning taxonomy? Do they require the application of higher order thinking skills or HAT? Or evoke critical thinking? So in this part of planning phase, while re-examining the instructional outcomes, you have to ask those questions because the outcomes must cover the three domains or the level of learning taxonomy. You have to check whether the outcomes are in accordance with the level of taxonomy, right? So in the taxonomy of cognitive domain, taxonomy of affective, and taxonomy of psychomotor domain. So as we have discussed it in the module 2, that each of the domain, each of the level, or each of the taxonomic level has different verbs used in order for us to determine where it belongs, whether it belongs to the lower order thinking skills or the higher order thinking skills, or what we call hats. Right? After examining the instructional outcomes, you have to determine the competencies to be measured. So you will be asking questions like, what knowledge, skills, and values are expected for students to learn or master? So in determining the competencies, you would be able also to determine whether it is in the cognitive, as it is in knowledge, psychomotor, as in the skills, and affective, as in the values. These are the expected learning outcomes that we must find in the competencies that we have used. So though kumbaga sa planning phase, we are just revisiting, we are just thinking, we are just connecting, sakto bala, may naigo bala siya, para maka-adjust kita in the next nga question nga himuon naton. The third one is what we call decide on the type and method of assessment to use. So in this level, you are going to ask what test can appropriately measure if the set of instructional outcomes are achieved. Can the test cover the learning outcomes intended and essential to be achieved? What test format is best to use? How many items can practically be given within the set period? So decide the type of method of assessment to use. Is it type of assessment, or what type of assessments are you going to use? Kung mag-amo sina, can the test cover the learning outcomes? Right? So these are the questions that you have to ask in order for you to decide. So there are times that we change our mind in terms of the type of or method that we want to use, because upon analyzing the questions, upon analyzing the content, we are saying to ourselves nga, ay daw hindi multiple choice ang aton gamiton, daw gusto ko matching type lang, diba? So before you decide kaya mausay ka lang sa chimpo, you have to think anay kung ano gid nga type or method of assessment ang imo nga himuon. Okay? So after nga nakapang-decide ka na to tanan, na re-examine mo na, na-determine mo na, you have already decided what type of assessment are you going to use, you are now going to prepare the table of specification. Right? The table of specification is a test blueprint that details the content area to be covered in a test. A content area. So in our module, in our syllabus, there are contents or what we call topics. Mga topics naging cover naton. So details nila amo na kuno ang i-cover sa test. The classification of test items according to test type, format, and the item number of or placement in a test to achieve a fair and balanced sampling of skills to be tested. So kinahanglan nga naton i-classify na nga daan according to ang type sang test nga aton gamiton. So gaan ta kamo karon sa example paano na siya ginahimo. There are several formats in the preparation of the TUS. In our school, we use different format. Maybe in the DepEd, they are also using different format. So now we are done on the different steps in the planning phase. Let's talk anay before we move to the construction. Let's talk anay about the TUS. So as we have defined TUS earlier, or table of specification, it says that TUS is the blueprint that details the content area to be covered in a test. So like in the format 1, you have observed that there are 4 contents. We have importance of research, type of research, qualities of a good researcher, the research process. This is their sample content. Kung science ka, you're going to identify man sa mga topics nimo. Kung B.Ed ka, then you have also your content by base sa subject ninyo. If you are BT-led, then different man ang mga contents ninyo. Then after nga identify nyo na ang content yung cover ninyo sa first grading, then you can look for the number of items, right? But it is not easy kung maghambal ka, paano ko mabalaan nga numbers 6 items dapat ang ibutan ko sa importance of research nga topic. Dapat 12 gid, hindi pwede nga 10 lang or 9 lang. So who says this, and what process are we going to use in order for us to determine the number of items? As you have noticed, may total number of items siya nga nabutang, right? So wala dili gin reflect kung pila ka oras gin klase ning mga topics nga ini. That's why amol na iya ang coverage sang format 1. So let's take a look at on the format 2, alright? So this is the format 2, this having the same topic. You observe here that we have now the level of cognitive. Here, remembering, evaluating, understanding, and creating. Diri gin pakita niya na ang kada topics gin labelan niya kung ano nga level sang cognitive ang iya gamiton sa pag-construct sang question. So siling diri sa iya format, ang importance of research nga topic 1, gamitan niya kuno sang remembering lang. So question lang sa what is knowledge lang tanan. But on the types of research, gamitan niya kuno sang evaluating nga mga terms, right? To something daw to evaluate, this is the last, no? Evaluating. And of course, qualities of good research or researcher, understanding daw, and research process, which is creating. As you have noticed, there is also a column for the type of research, in which in the topic 1, importance of research, nga sa diin gin-describe niya hagi nga remembering siya, himuan niya kuno sang questions nga tanan, enumeration. As you have noticed, may total number of item na siya nga 6 or 9 to 14. Enumeration kuno tanan ang iya nga himuon. Deriya, type of research nga evaluating, himuon niya type of test, constructed response, which is 12 items gid. Qualities of good researchers as understanding, true or false kunong iya nga gamiton nga type of test, which is 8 items na 1 to 8. And the research process, creating a diagram 27 to 40 or 14 points with a total of 40 items siya. So mo na yung pagplaster sang format 2. Maybe some other institution uses this, or maybe they have more than a complicated or more understandable placement of all the items in the TOS. Depende. So ang sa DepEd may ara man sila nga format, sa ibang nga colleges may ara man sila. And CAMSU has also its own. And for the format 3, as you have noticed, this having the same topic, may ari na siyang column for the number of class sessions. Do gimbutangan niya, gin-reflect niya na diri ang number of hours nga ginaklase sa kada topic. So sa list, the importance of research, 1.5 hour. Alright? So in the next topic, the teacher spent 3 hours, the third topic 2 hours, and the fourth topic 3.5 hour with a total of 10 hours. So here we can see also the number of items. Ginbutang niya na number of items for the topic 1 to 4. And ang iya style, the cognitive level, K and C, knowledge comprehension. Ginchikan niya ang topic 1 nga amo na kunong iya nga cognitive level. For the topic 3, cognitive level, knowledge and comprehension man. So wala sa nag-check sa analysis. The rest topics are categorized as HOTS. So that means nga ang iya ginhimo diri nga format, ginpang-classify lang ang kada topics kung diin sila nga cognitive level by checking. Gina-check ya lang. And ginpakita diri ang item description from what to what, 19 to 14, 15 to 26, and so on, right? So amo na siya ang format 3. So as you have noticed, it is more complicated than format 2, more complicated than format 1. And let's have now the last format 4, the same topic, then reflect yung man ang number of hours, tapos nakita ninyo nga spread out yun na ang cognitive level. Okay? So remembering, understanding, application, analysis, evaluation, and creating, or yes, creating. So gimpang-checkan niya kung diin na below ang kada topic or ano ang focus nga gusto niya i-develop nga question sa kada topic. That's why ginchika niya, gusto niya remembering lang. Topic 2 gusto niya evaluation, topic 3 understanding, topic 4 creation. Hagin reflect niya may total number of items and the title item distribution. Alright. So kung pamangkoton ka mo ano nga format ang mas kompleto, mas detalyado kag makitaan mo gid kung diin siya nga level sang cognitive. Alright, so that is the format number 4. Alright? Sige, so however, there is a question. In deciding on the number of items per subtopic, the formula below is observed. So may-ari kita nga gina-follow, diba? Sa paghimo sang pag-compute sang aton nga number of items. So in order for us to solve for the number of items, because total items here is given already. However, kung may ara ka lang sang number of hours kag total number of hours and you projected kung pilang total nga item ang imo nga i-computon, then you can now solve for the number of items, which is 6, 12, 8, and 14. So try to look at this as an example, diba? Sa topic number 1. But let me or allow me to introduce to you the formula. So the number of items equals to number of class sessions times desired total number of items divide total number of class session. So di na di ang number of items nga napangita naton, just like Ario 6, 12, 8, 14. This is the unknown. Amo na ginapangita naton. What if we don't have this? What is only given are the class sessions per topic and the total. Of course, after adding all this, you can get the total number of hours and your projected total number of items. Ikaw na yung ma-decide. It's either 40 ka lang, 30 ka lang, 50 ka lang, or 60 ka lang. Kaya matabo sa imo computation, i-distribute siya laman na by percentage. Pila ka bilog ang item kung nag 1.5 hours siya. Nga ang total number of hours siya is 10 kag ang total number of items niya 40. Pila ang number of items niya kung 3 hours saging klase kag ang total numbers sang ilang contact nga pagklase nila is 10 hours sa first grading, example. Kag nag-decide si teacher nga 40 items ang iyang test, right? And so on. So in order to answer that question, then we have to scan this formula, follow this process. For the topic on the importance of research, the following are the given. So number of class session, as you have noticed, 1.5 hour importance of research nasa. So ari 1.5. Desired total number of items, pilang desired total number of items, dari ari 40. Desired, why is it desired? Because you are the one making it. You are the one deciding it. Hala ka na kung i-100 mo na siya, basta may 1.5 hour lang na siya yung klase. Di karon pila ng number of items. Sumahon na natong karon. Right? After knowing the total number of items, which is 40, you are going to add the total number of class sessions. So kung gin-add natin ang total number of session, dere 1.5, 3, 2, 3 and 1/2, making it 10 as a total number of hours. So since we have already the 3 given, then we can solve already for the number of items. So we have formula number of items is equal to 1.5 muna sang number of class session times 40, the desired total number of items, divide 10, which is the total number of class session, which is the answers give us 6. Let's check again. So anom ka items ang iya nga i-prepare nga question sa importance of research nga nag-spend lang sang 1.5 hours. Right? We are going to use the same formula. We are just going to change the number of class session, which is 1.5 here. We are going to replace it by 3. Then we will get the result utilizing the same given, which the answer is 12. Alright, so ang imoon naton is 3 times 40 divide 10, which is equal to 12. 2 times 40 divide 10 equals 8. Last topic, 3 and 1/2 times 40 divide 10 equals 14. Mula na siya kasimple, right? So you know already how to compute. And because you know it already, then I have a challenge. So we have topics, for example, water cycle, 3 hours saging klase, carbon dioxide, 4 hours, nitrogen 4 hours with a total of 9 hours. Sakto, 7, 8, 9. Correct. And I have decided 30 items man. Okay? I'll give you time to use the formula and solve for water cycle topic. I'll just count 1 to 5 and answer it. Alright? So, let's try this. Everybody, please use your calculator or mental mathematics can do. So, for water cycle, if we have 3 hours in spending in class, in making it finish, we have a total number of hours which is 9 and total number of item which is 30. Right? So, okay, ready, go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's the answer? Please type your comment on the comment section below. Yes, that is 10. Right? So, very good. How about carbon cycle? It consumes 4 hours. Then, what's the total number of item? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright. So, comment your answer below. For nitrogen cycle, we have 2. So, what's the total number of items if it has 9 total hours and 30 total number of items? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, so 6.6 or 7. If we add all, 10 plus 13 plus 7, we got 30. Alright, so very good. And congratulations to those who respond. Try it yourselves para mas dasig ka mo makabalo kay there are individuals nga hindi niya kaya magtanaw lang. So, kinahanglan niya gid sumahon. So, try it para makabalo ka man. Sa magsuma sa number of items having only the number of hours, total number of hours, and desired na total number of items. Right? So, let's proceed. In talking about test construction, the length of time, the type of test, and the type of item used are also factors considered in determining the number of items to be constructed in a test. So according to Gabuyo 2012, he presented an estimated average time to answer a specific type of test. So this is it. Let's try this. True or false, we have 30 seconds lang dapat. Multiple choice, dapat 60 items. This is what we are doing. Nga kung may ara ka 60 item test, you are going to answer that in 1 hour because 60 seconds is equivalent to 1 minute and 60 minutes is equivalent to 1 hour. So you will be spending 60 items in 60 minutes. That is 1 hour. And the multiple choice of higher level learning objectives, kung may ara sa multiple choice nga gina-describe nga higher order learning objectives sila, then you will be spending 90 seconds. Medyo budlay man sa siguro, diba? Short answer naman is 120 seconds. So kung wag 120 seconds, so a matter of 2 minutes, right? Completion test, that is 60 seconds. Matching type, matching time per minute ang ginansaran, that is 30 seconds per response. Short essay, 10 to 15. Okay, so ang kalabanan natin, no, may mga short essay kita 10 to 15 minutes. Ari naman yung extended essay is 30 minutes and visual image 30 seconds. Right? So makita tani karon nga gintagaan sila sa average time to answer per second or per minute. Na budlay gibala ding iban i-answeran or masapos bala ining iban nga mga type of test answeran. So we will be discussing each of these test item. Let's talk about test construction. So test design and construction phase na ta. So this is the second phase of our test construction. This is where test items are designed and constructed following the appropriate item format for the specified learning outcomes and instruction. The test items are dependent upon the educational outcomes and materials or topics to be tested. This phase includes the following steps. Number 1, item construction. According to Osterland 1989, the perils of writing test items without adequate forethought are great. Decisions about persons, program, projects, and materials are often made on the basis of test scores. If a test is made up of items haphazardly written by unauthored persons, the resulting decisions could be erroneous. Alright, so kinanglan ko no, dapat ang maobra sang test question is knowledgeable about the topic. Kaya kung hindi, haphazard siya, pagdelikado siya para sa pag-answer tungod kay it will result to erroneous decision. Such errors can sometimes have a serious consequences for learners, teachers, and the institution as a whole. Performances, programs, projects, and materials could be misjudged. Amo ginang matabo. Abi mo, okay na, hindi pagali. Ang instrument naton, ang materials naton, ang project, programs naton, and the performance as a whole can be misjudged because of this faulty instrument that we have created. Obviously, to help classroom teachers improve the quality of test construction, Kobizen and Borish 2007 suggested some general guidelines for writing test items consist of the following. Ano ko nung dapat na to nimuon kung magsulat kita sang item or sang tests. Alright. So, rin suggest nila. Begin writing items far enough or in advance so that you will have a time to revise them. Nami giman ko no siling nila kung na advanced na, di ba? Sang sa maobra ka buwas ng exam or maobra ka subong ng exam. So a week before may be considered in order for you to be ready. Okay, sometimes if you have missed something, you think something daw hindi to nami to nga ako nga questions islang ko i-revise ko to. Ay daw may nawala ko na include islang ko revise ko to. Pero kung wala ka na time, then how can you change your test item if you don't have already time? So amo nang budlay na kung wala na gid time. It's time out. Match items to intended outcomes of an appropriate level of difficulty to provide a valid measure of instructional objectives, and limit the questions to the skill being assessed. Sometimes no, palagpat lang kita obra sang questions, layo naman gili sa target or sa aton nga objective. Tama ka budlay kung kisa nga which is ang aton gina-measure is not already the knowledge of the students about the topic, but we are already measuring their understanding on how they interpret our question or tricky questions. So mo nang kisa mo nang budlay kay dogalain na ang aton direction with regards to assessment. Okay, so focus on also only or limit the questions to the skill being assessed. Be sure each item deals with an important aspect of a content area and not with trivia. I am used sometimes in my first year to add trivia, especially advancement, development of science, gamit ko na. But if it is not included in the topic, do not include it. Be sure each item deals with important aspect of the content lang. And be sure that the problem posed is unambiguous. That means the question must be precise or clear. So to avoid confusion to our students. Be sure that the item is independent of all other items. The answer to one item should not be required as a condition in answering the next item. A hint to one answer should not be embedded in another item as well. So, ginagamit naton siya nga springboard ang isa ka question to the other question. Ang hambal diri sa requirement that there is an independence of items on the other items. So another, it should not give hint to one answer. So hindi pwede siya nga mahatag siya dako or gamay man nga ideya para maka-answer ang estudyante sa next question, because we are not developing students to connect those questions in order for them to answer. Be sure the item has one or more best answer on which experts would agree. So sometimes we need also to ask experts or individuals who are experienced on the topic, just like example teachers who are experiencing on the science teaching or experts in science area. Then you can ask also their expertise to help you decide which among of the questions are best answers, best answer to your questions, which among the options is the best answer to your questions, right? Prevent unintended clues to an answer in the statement or question. So intended clues is daw may ara gid ya, no, hindi mo mabalaan. The next is grammatical inconsistencies such as a or an give clause to correct answer to those students who are not well prepared for the test. So kung ang pagkuha sang test sa mga bata palagpat lang, kag ang pagpalagpat sometimes sobra pa sa tanda, and when that happens we are not determining really how they learn or what they have learned or how far they have learned, because they rely always on the luck. So mapalagpatan nila, protsakto pa sila, then they will say to themselves that ay okay, pwede lang mga palagpatan, hindi na ako kinanglan magtuon gid. So how nice if our assessment is really measuring what it intends to measure, or really measuring that specific skills that we want to develop to our students. The next is to avoid replication of the textbook in writing test items. Do not quote directly from the textual material. Sometimes we are copying the questions from the textbook. It should not be, right? So kung makopy ka gid man o kung ma-refer ka gid man, pwede mo i-reconstruct ang statement or i-quote mo ang book directly. So it's also advised not to do that, because you have to make difference between your instruction and from the book's instruction. Kaya kung mag-amo ka na, mahamba sila nga it's all in the book, okay sa libro nga amo lang to kung gali mabasa. So we are teaching them to be enclosed already. Do ginatun-an ta sila nga dito lang giniagili makita, dito dapat okay man nga matuon to sila, pero we have to make this information available to other sources as well. So do not quote directly, revise it. So avoid tricky questions in an achievement test. Do not waste time testing how well the students can interpret your intention. Ari pagid ang isa ay gusto mo gid sila sometimes matistingan no kung alam ginibla sila or hindi. So sometimes we tend to test with the use of tricky questions. So again, focus ang task sa kung anong gusto kag anong dapat naton i-measure. The next is to try to write items that require higher order thinking skills. Of course, so we are promoting to develop our students critical thinking, and thus we are going to construct our instrument in a higher order thinking skill. So in the construction you have to use HOTS, no? Higher order thinking skills, or questions that starts with how or why. So in a situation, or maybe situational can do. So make a situation and ask question. Type of tests. So to create effective tests, the teacher needs to familiarize himself or herself with the different types of tests and avoid any pitfalls in test construction through a helpful and definitive guidelines. So this is a diagram that will help us identify really where this item falls under. Just like for example, magsiling ka type of test. Ang test gali ya may objective type kag may subjective type of test, right? And under subjective type of test, we have selection test and supply test. Under the selection test, we have the true or false, matching type, multiple choice, right? The selection, kung na-obserbaran ninyo, when you are going to answer questions using this type of test, you are selecting. Sa multiple choice, kapili ka, wala. Sa matching type, kapili ka, wala. Sa true or false, kapili ka, wala. So if yes, then that question falls under selection test. So next is supply test. So we have here short answers and completion. So why is it supply? Because you are giving the answer. You are supplying the answer on the question. So short answer is somewhat like identification. Completion is also supplying the information or completing the statement. And in order to have also subjective type of test, we have essay test and performance test. So under the essay test, we have restricted and extended essay or question. Right? So, ang restricted, explain ni karon, yung nga na-restrict siya or limitahan siya. While the extended, so gintagaan niya leeway ang manog answer kung ano yung iyang ay hatag as his own opinion. So, that is essay test which is under subjective. Na subjective sa tood tungod kay hindi siya objective. Then we also have performance test. So simulated performance and product based assessment. So kung tanaw nato ang performance test, these are authentic assessments in which it will generate critical thinking and of course develops the skills of our students. So simulation or simulated performance and product based assessment. So under na siya sa performance test, which is also subjective, in which it depends on how the teacher assess the performance of the students. Subjective sa in the sense nga may criteria eh. So si teacher na sang ga-determine kung nagahatag sang grades sang bata. So sa essay may criteria man na siya. Siya man na nagahatag score sa kada criteria. May power siya actually to determine which is the best and which is not. So that is the type of assessment. Let's talk about objective test or objective type of test. These tests consist of questions or items that require factual answer or factual answer. Gisaya, these tests can be quickly and unambiguously scored by the teacher or anyone who has the answer key. Hindi na silingan si teacher lang gid maka-answer kay siya gid ang teacher. So anybody who has the answer key can answer the objective test. The response option are often structured that can easily be marked or as correct or incorrect, thus minimizing subjectivity or bias on part of the scorer. Right? So kisa na kung ara ng answer, kung magsiling sila A, hindi pwede nga ayoon himuon B. Kung magambal C, basta hindi pwede nga ayoon para himuon D. Right? So it's objective. The next is selection test. Selection test in this type, students select the best possible answer from the choices that are already given and do not need to recall facts or information from their memory. Under the objective test, we have selection type of test. So check na to, no? We have selection are. So meaning di ka na minsar gid kung ano gito tungod may ara naman option. Pero you need still to remember kung ano ang answer. Pero ara lang nga daan ang answer. All you have to do is to select na lang gid. The selection type of test. The next one is true or false test. It contains items with only two fixed choices. Binary options kumbaga. So ang true or false, other term niya is binary options. So yes or no, true or false, mga binary options na sila. Ano pagad, left or right, up and down. Kung gahatag ka test, then if you are asking only and giving only two options, then that is binary options. Tandaan, the students simply recognize a correct or an incorrect statement that can stand for their knowledge and understanding of facts or information shared. So meaning, there is sa true or false nga ini, ga pangita lang ni si estudyante sang correct kag o sino ang sala. Do kahapos ang siguro kay tidua lang left or right, up and down. kundi si Juan, si Pedro. So, advantage of the true or false. True or false items are easy to formulate. The score is more objective than essay test. It covers a large range of content in a short span of time, and the test is easy to formulate and quick to check and to score and matching test. Right? So, ano mga advantages niya? So, convenience as a teacher, convenience mo sa student. Ano mga disadvantage niya? There is a high probability of guessing. Of course, biskan naman siguro nga question, mag-guess ka gid kung di ka kabalo. Pero sa true or false, may high probability of guessing. Right? Labi na kung lang kabalo. It is not well suited for measuring complex mental process. So, ano na ginhambal ko that usually these are not being used to measure the complex mental process of the students. So, it often measures low-level thinking skills that are limited to the ability to recognize, recall, and understand information. So, if you just want to have a simple recall, recognize, and understand information, then just use the true or false test. But if you need to develop complex mental process or develop the higher order thinking skill of your student, then use other type of test. Just like maybe we can have the true or false because it is common and rampant sa kalabanan yung mga test natin nga ginapangkuha. So why is it they are using true or false always? Because they believe that it is type of test that can really measure the varied skills of our students. Keep the statement direct, brief, and concise but complete. Aman ang hambal niya. Each statement should only focus on a single idea unless it has the intention to show a cause and effect relationship. Use approximately the same number of true or false statements. So, hindi na tama ka damo ang false or hindi man tama ka jutay ang true. Dua lang to out of 60. Dua lang ka true out of 50. Something man wala. So, as much possible ko use the same number of true or false statements. Don't copy statements directly taken from the textbook. Ari pagay ginambalam ni kagina. Specify clearly in the direction where and how the student should mark their answer. Mas ibala sa true or false gabot mo silingon isulat nila ang T kon true or F kon false, pero wala mo na specify kung anong ilahi mo on paano sila mag-answer. Next, arrange the true and false items in random order to minimize the chance for students to detect a pattern of response. So, arrange naton in random. Hindi po sila yung true tanan, false tanan ang next. So, kung mag-amo sila, may harap sila nga ma-develop nga random patterns sang ilang responses. So, medyo iskan sa arrangement lang, medyo dira lang ta mabawi isang tricky rin naton. Tricky arrangement. So, i-random lang, di sila nga ipasunuro mo, example mo, false true, amo mo gina. So, may pattern na karon. Makita na nilang pattern, masaling sila tanan ni amo na ni tanan. Pero buta mo true, false, true, false, true, false. Doon mo na. Depende sa imo, pero randomized not dapat. Next, beware of using first trivial and tricky questions, opinion-based statement unless such a statement is attributed to an author, expert, or proponent. Superlatives such as best, worst, largest, and others. Negative or double negatives. If this cannot be avoided, bold negative words or underline it to call the attention of the examinee. So, may mga dapat ka-emphasize, dapat kang gusto i-focusan nila, then you can bold that or underline that so that it will get the attention of the examinee. Clues to the correct choice through specific determinants such as some, sometimes, and many that tends to appear in the true statements and never always all, none that tend to appear in the statements that are false. So, determine ginatan dapat. Okay, so next test item is what we call matching type test. So, this provides two columns for learners to connect or match words, phrases, or sentences. Column A on the left side contains the description. Column A on the left side contains the descriptions called premises, and column B on the right side contains the options for answers, and it is called responses. The items on the column A are numbered, while the items in column B are labeled with capital letters. The convention is for learners to match the given response on the right with the premise on the left. So as you have noticed, it is common to us in which we always look for the pair of the question from the left, column A, to the right, column B. So what is the advantage or advantages of having this matching type? So for the advantages, we have it is easy to construct, check, and grade. It can cover a lot of content in the given set of tests. It provides accurate, efficient, and reliable test scores. It is also the best suited for measuring the student's ability to do associations. The effect of guessing is less compared to the true or false and multiple choice test. So, see, mas advantage pagli ang matching type kumpara sa true or false and multiple choice in terms of guessing sa ato ni estudyante. So for the disadvantages, it only assesses the low level of cognitive domains such as simple recall or memorization of information. So common siguro sa ila sa iban ng mga type of test. So it measures low level, and answering matching questions or matching type questions is time consuming for students. So siguro kung mabudlayan sila mag-connect or mag-curate to identify the premise or the answer of the question, then that will take time really for the student. But if they already familiarize the question and identify already the answer, then maybe not really nga madugayan man sila sa pag-answer, right? So what are the guidelines in making or the guidelines that we need to consider in constructing the matching type test? So the descriptions and options must be short and straightforward. Wala nang paligwi-ligwi pa, wala nang patumpik-tumpik pa. Kailangan kung anong gusto mo i-describe or gusto mong hatagan sa emphasis, then you have to have a straightforward statement. Then keep the descriptions and option homogeneous or interconnected by themes. So pwede naton i-connect niyang description naton sa aton nga option in terms of themes. So place all descriptions on the left side and mark them with column A, and the options expressed in shorter form on the right side and mark it with column B. So take note always when you are going to construct a matching type, the description must be located at the column A, and the answer or the short form answer must be located on the right side or column B. So column A is longer statement while column B is a shorter statement. Then make all descriptions and options appear on the same page. So kung kisa ang aton nga sa kadamo siguro sang mga aton nga ginapamatching type sa ila, ang iban nga mga option ato sa likod kag ang iban ara pa sa una. So it will be very difficult for our students manage the papers in a shorter period of time. Take note nga may time ka mo to answer per item, and that should be considered. Allow more options than descriptions or indicate in the directions that options may be used more than once to decrease the chance of guessing. I-describe gid kung ang atong bilang options pwede magamit once lang or more than once para hindi na nila pag-i-answer liwat kung na-answer na siya, or para maibana na naton ang mga options sa column B when they are going to look for the appropriate answer. Then specify the basis for matching in the direction. Avoid too many correct answers as well. Kay basi maglalisay ka mo sa estudyante ninyo nga damo gali answer. When using names, always include the complete name first and sure name to avoid ambiguities. Arrange the answer choices in a logical order, chronological, and alphabetical order to help the examinees locate the correct answer quickly. Give a minimum of 3 items and maximum of 7 items for elementary level and maximum of 17 items for secondary and tertiary level. The next one is multiple choice test. It requires test takers to choose the correct answer from the list of options given. It includes 3 parts: the STEM, the KID option, and the incorrect options or alternatives. The STEM represents the problem or the question, usually expressed in the completion form or question form. The key option is the correct answer, and the incorrect options or alternatives are also called distractors or foils. So see, when we talk about multiple choices, there are different parts. We have the STEM or the question, the correct answer or the key options, and incorrect options or ginatawag nga alternative are also called distractors or foils. Amo na silang mga sala nga mga options sa aton nga options. So, example, letter A, B, C, D. A ang correct answer, ang B, C, and D are distractors. Again, A, B, C, D. Kung C ang correct answer, ang A, B, and D are the distractors or ginatawag natin nga foils or incorrect options. Multiple choice advantages. It can be scored and analyzed efficiently, quickly, and reliably. It measures learning outcomes that varies at various level from knowledge to evaluation. So see, ang multiple choice may ara sa isang varied way of measuring the level from knowledge to evaluation. It measures almost any educational objective. Okay? So, mas effective bidya ang multiple choice because it measure almost any educational objectives natin. It measures broad examples of content within a short span of time. Its questions or items can further be analyzed in terms of validity and reliability. So kung naga-matching type ka, budlay na sa i-reliability test. On my true or false ka, the same. Pero kung multiple choice, then of course we can. If an item analysis is applied, it can reveal the difficulty of an item and its ability to discriminate against a good performing students. Right? So those are the advantages of multiple choice. And the advantages are the development of good items in a test is time consuming. Amon la galing kung basta mag-ubra ka test item nga multiple choice, budlay man siya kag time consuming, pero kung natapos mo naman kag ma-plaster mo na siya, hapos naman niya mag-check. So galing kay consuming in the sense nga consuming sa sang time mag-ubra, disadvantage siya. Kay kung mag-essay kaya maubra ka lang question, kung multiple true or false ka, ubra ka lang statement, right? So multiple choice siya, consider mo pa ang mga STEM, ang foil, correct answer or ang key option. Next advantage, plausible distractors are hard to formulate. O pagining kisa, kay kung dito natin pa i-consider kung ano dapat ang distractor nga ibutang natin, hapos lang gid nila pilion ang correct answer. Kasi hindi pa sila mayo ka-intindi sa question or hindi sila mayo kabalo sa pamangkot, then when the distractors are easy or mga obvious kaayo nga do hindi gid sayang answer, then it is easy to eliminate. Then they can really look for correct answer. Test scores can be influenced by other factors such as the test wiseness or reading ability of the examinees. So ang test scores naton napiktuhan man kung ang palasigon sa pagbasa sa options or sa questions gaka-delayed or hinay sa aton nga mga estudyante. So do you think makatapos siya or basi makraming lang siya yasang answer tungod kay hindi niya mayo gid na fully understood ginabasa ya pakaduwa para ma-understand niya gid mayo ang question. Kisa gabasa sa question pero malipatan niya ang concept, then liwaton niya naman. It is not effective in assessing the problem solving skills of the students. So kung talking about problem solving naman niya, then maybe we can look for authentic assessment or hindi paper and pencil test ang gamiton naton para ma-solvar naton ang makuha nato kag ma-measure nato ang problem solving skill nila. It is not applicable when measuring the ability to organize and express ideas. So kung may mga organization and expression of ideas, sometimes ang multiple choice hindi sa kakuha kay tungod prepared siya, ready prepared ang iyang mga options or mga questions niya. Then maybe kung di makuha sa multiple choice, then you can make maybe a short answer or extended essay. Pwede natin magamit bilang substitution sa multiple choice if we really want to look for the ability of the students to organize and express ideas. Right? So actually damo sa mga pamaagi on how are we going to look for their ideas in different ways, and depends naman, depende na siya sa type of test na atong gamiton. So what are the guidelines that we need to consider in doing and making the multiple choice? So first, phrase each question concisely. Use simple, precise, and unambiguous wording. So kisa confusing man ang words nga gamit naton, the same with any other test items, no? On vague ang mga words, di clear sa aton, di klaro sa aton, di taka-intindi, then it will be very difficult. So use a simple, precise, and unambiguous wording. Avoid the use of trivial and tricky questions. Amo ni ganyang hambal. Use 3 to 5 options to challenge critical thinking and discourage guessing. So usually ang atong ginagamit siya is 1 to 4 options. So kung mag 5 base di ta maanad, no? Amo nang aton use even the board exam asa sa 4. Pero wala po kita sa options nga up to 5. Pero to avoid guessing, we can. So present diagram, drawing, or illustration when students are asked to apply, analyze, and evaluate ideas. Use tables, figures, and charts when students are required to interpret ideas. So ara suggestion niya. And use pictures if possible when students are required to apply concepts and principle. This is the guidelines. The STEM. Paano ubrahon ang STEM or ang question naton? The STEM should be written in question or completion form. If blanks are provided in completion form, they are placed at the end and not at the beginning or in the middle of the statement or sentence. So yung mga statement kita o mapapangkot kita that we want them to complete it, no? So ginabutan naton sang space or line to provide the word, even though we have options, no? May mga options sa dalom, pero ang options kuha mo ibutang mo para makompleto masyado something amo ng completion. However, the underline space that is provided for the completion is written before or before or at the middle of the statement. So it should not be, it should be placed at the end of the statement. Next, for the STEM, again, be clear and concise. Does not use excessive, irrelevant word. Very self-explanatory. Avoid using negative words such as not or exempt. So, amo nagalit, no? If possible, we have to avoid the word not or exempt. So, kung may nakita ka mo sa questions sa to, then maybe it can be improved next time. Avoid using negative words. If this cannot be avoided, they are written in bold or capital letters to call the attention of the examinees. And pero kung di gid ma-avoid, then it must be bolded, no? Para makulang attention sang naga-read. Be free from grammatical cross and errors. So i-review gid, liwaton, check on gid liwat, basahon, pabasa sa opod, pabasa sa classmate, pasilay na ila pag-interpret, may makita sila ang sala, and you can edit it. That's for the question. For the options are arranged in a logical order, are marked with capital letters. Right, ang options natin are marked with capital letters and are listed vertically beneath the STEM. So ara dapat ang options natin sa dalawang sang question, hindi sa babaw. Provide only one correct or clearly best answer in each item. Options are kept independent and do not overlap with options in other items. So, isa daw ang mga options naton sa unang questions becomes our options on the next questions pa. These options are homogeneous in content to raise the difficulty level of the item and are of uniform or equal length as much as possible. Avoid sparingly used the phrases all of the above and none of the above. So avoid again, no, ang mga gagamit kita sa mga statement nga all or none sa options naton. And kinahanglan ang atong mga options somewhat like the same lang. Kung di magid magawan, i-rephrase naton. Pero as much as possible, ginatandaan lang sa mga estudyante kung di nang mas laba nga options, amo na sa ang the best answer, diba? So, kabalon ta na kag ginahimo mo na kon sa una. And I also informing you that we have to equalize the length as much as possible of our options. Next, let's talk about distractors naman. Distractors should be plausible and effective but not too attractive to be mistaken by most students as the correct answer. Sometimes hindi naman gusto sila nga magsala, pero we have to select also options or distractors that will be considered as plausible and effective. Sometimes we can easily eliminate those options upon looking without thinking, right? So hindi sa plausible or hindi sa effective, we can distract the students but not to the extent that it will become attractive over more than the correct answer, right? So each distractor should be chosen by at least 5% of the examinees but not more than the key answer, okay? So may ara gali kita nga ginatawag nga requirement ang kada distractors. Example, sa apat mo ka options, letter A ang answer and ang letter B, C, and D are ginatawag natin yung mga distractors. So sa kabilugan ng mga estudyante, kinahanglan ang kada isa kuno nga mga distractors makakuha sa 5% nga nagpili sa ila or nag-select sa ila to be considered as effective distractor or plausible distractor, but not to the point na malapawan niya pa ang correct answer, mga percentage nga nagpili ng estudyante, right? So base bla 50% nakalabot na ta 50% distractors pero 45% lang ang nagpili sa correct answer. So naglapaw ka na sa correct answer, that means you are too attractive na gid para pilion. So ang distractors na description, wala siya nag-allow that your distractors will be more attractive than the correct answer. So at absta ka lang sa 5% dapat ang examinees nga mapili si